Hey everybody, hopefully you can all hear me. Hi Jimbo. Hoodie Woodman, Louisiana. I couldn't have said that better myself. Everybody hit the thumbs up please. Thanks very much to everybody who does that, by the way. It really does help. Hitting that thumbs up button and commenting any sort of actions on or positive actions on the videos that I do. Hitting, getting those clicks, it really does help, and it's proven this week. I've had an insane amount of views this week, absolutely insane. Hi Chicken, how you doing? Alden Murdoch, I noticed this before I came on air. Gordon, did you know that the person who invented the euro did it to destroy workers? Greg Palast met him and he told him workers can't compete with the euro. I don't know how workers would compete with the euro, but I certainly see my view of the euro is, and the European Union in general, is I subscribe to the Mark Blythe way of thinking, that the euro is a way to drive Western European wages down to Eastern European levels in order to compete with the Chinese in the global market. That is one way of thinking that I tend to subscribe to, which isn't good for workers. Certainly isn't, because it drives down obviously Western workers' wages. But I'll look into that. Greg Palast is a great reporter who does some really good investigative journalist work. So I'll check into it and see what he was talking about there. Hi Sean, hi Joe, Rob, and Lab. My apologies this week to everybody for the lack of videos. I think I've only done 2 or 3 videos this week, and the reason being is I wanted to catch up on all the videos that I've been promising that I haven't got round to actually doing, and I've done them, I've finished them, and they will be dropping this week. There's the Bellingcat video which I've finished, I think that's coming on Tuesday, and there's a Venezuela video that I've done on Wednesday. I've actually done 2 on Venezuela. I might leave the other one until next week. There's other videos that I've done as well on other topics, including one on the Department of Work and Pensions and Universal Credit, which the more I looked into it, the more horrific, however bad you think it is, it's worse. It really is. And climate change is done. It took me a long time because that video is like 40 minutes long, and I wanted to do it seamlessly rather than edit it in a different program. I wanted to do it seamlessly through OBS, and it took a few recordings, but I finally got there. And then I realised that there was one massive piece of information that I didn't put in there, so I had to redo the whole thing again, and that took me a couple of days. So that's coming on Friday, and I think I'm going to take advantage of the premiere feature on YouTube, which I think is new. So that will be coming Friday, and I'll probably, I can watch it with you and comment and all that sort of thing. I think with the premiere, it acts like a live show, and you can comment and that sort of thing, and send super chats, etc. And I can comment along with you and watch that. It's something I'm really proud of. That's coming on. That's scheduled for Friday. But I've actually got 8 videos pre-recorded for this week already, so there's probably going to be 20-25 videos this week, more than make up for the lack of videos in the last week. I mentioned OBS there. This is actually being done through Streamlabs, and Streamlabs OBS. There's a function on it missing that is really pissing me off, because it's really held me up tonight. And I had 3 stories that I wanted to do, and I've only actually got 2 loaded up into the system. So because I'm having to do it a different way. So yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a really good week. Hi, Truly Progressive. Thanks very much for your super chat, by the way, on the last live stream. I didn't notice it until after I'd logged off. I think you must have sent it through just before I logged off. Thanks for it very much. And thanks for saying that you like my accent. Was it Truly Progressive or Natural Progressive? I don't know. If it wasn't you, then it was the Natural Progressive. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you. Yeah, it's all going good, mate. It's all going really, really good. This week has been astounding views-wise. It only seems like a week ago people were congratulating me because I hit 5,000 subscribers, and now we're getting close to 10. So I want to say a big thank you to all you for sharing my work, and sharing it on other platforms that I don't use, such as Facebook, etc., and sharing it on Twitter. It's massively increased the audience, and it's really starting to snowball, I've found. So yeah, thank you very, very much for all your support. I can't believe I'm over 8,500 subscribers. 8,500 subscribers. Thank you, MT Unit. That's very nice of you. Thank you. See? Not bad for a middle-aged man. I can sort all this technical stuff out myself. So yeah, thanks for all your support, for your likes, your comments, and your shares. It's really, really helping me out. Hi, Nikki. Thank you, Andrew. That's very nice of you. I hate my accent. I hate everybody from Midlands hates my accent. There's one guy who comments on every video, every video I do without fail. He comments, and he always calls me the scruffy, brummy momentum thug. And I've wanted to reply to him for so long now, just to say I'm not a brummy. How dare you? I don't mind all the other crap he calls me, but just don't call me a brummy. Thank you, Natural Progressive. Yeah, it's oh great, yeah. Fireworks. I always found November the 5th, Guy Fawkes, so much more organic than Halloween, mate. Continues, this poor dude. Yeah, my little dog is underneath the covers on my bed right now. She's hiding underneath the duvet because occasionally a firework. It happens every single year. Every single year, the 2 weeks leading up to fireworks day and the week afterwards, there's loud bangs outside, and she craps herself. She really does. You go in the bedroom and you can just see the quilt quivering because she's shaking, because it's not nice. Not nice. Thank you for joining, Trisha. Hope you enjoy it. I've got a couple of stories that I'm going to get to it. Sean Calder says, Gordon, how do I contribute without a bank account? I refuse to give any money or power to the bank of scum. I'm going to set up a PO box, Sean, because I've had a few emails saying exactly that same thing. I've just got to get up to the post office and set it up. So you'll be able to do it like that. I'll make sure I think I've got to go to the post office or close to it tomorrow, so I'll get that sorted up. I'm also waiting for Streamlabs. The Streamlabs link is below. I'm also waiting for them to verify me on Streamlabs, and there's all sorts of different ways I can accept donations in, and I think I've also got to set up my Skrill account on there as well. Wolverhampton, innit? Yeah, good dog. It's Wolverhampton. Be proud of your roots and culture. I'm proud of my roots and culture, mate. I'm just not a Brummie. There's nothing wrong with being a Brummie. It's just better to be from Wolverhampton. Yeah, no, I don't even sound like a Brummie. Yes, Roma Charlie. Yeah, the dogs. I mean, it's horrible this time of year. She hates it. She really does, and she gets so clingy because she was abused when she was a puppy, which is why I had her. So she's a bit of a scaredy dog. Hi, Joe. As you have a physics background, do you think you could cover the Fukushima venting and the Pacific die-off that's been going on? Dana Durford is my hero on this subject. Fukushima is one of those subjects that I've got a feeling it's either been way underreported or way overreported. It's one of those two. They're either making not a big deal out of it when it should be, or making too big a deal out of it when it isn't. I've got a feeling it's the former. I'll look into it. It's not a subject that I've spent too much. I've spent so much time this week researching the Rohingya crisis. It's just there's too many crises around the world, and I just can't keep up. Vets have dog RX for that. Also, supposedly some hemp oil will help Hoodie Woman. Believe me, she gets her intake of smoke for second hand. You're welcome, Sean. You're welcome. Thanks very much. You're not the only one who's asked me. I've been asked about 5 times, 6 times in the last month. So, Jimmy says, "What do you do during your normal working week?" Honestly, Jimmy, at the moment, I'm doing this like 14 hours a day. I get up in the morning. It's from the time I get up in the morning to the time I go to bed at night. I'm doing this. It's not work, which is why it doesn't feel like work. If I was a millionaire, this is what I'd do. I'd do it for free. I promise you I would. I honestly I feel like I've sort of found my calling. I really do. And I'm definitely going to be doing this or something very similar to it. What this manifests into, I don't know. I'm certainly not going to sell out and you'll never see me on the BBC, that's for sure. So I get a normal during working day, I'll get up, usually I'm not an early riser. I usually get up about 10 o'clock. Literally, have a shower, get dressed, have a coffee, sit down and just start going through. I go to all my trusted sources, the news, see what they're talking about. And then I'll, in the morning, early afternoon, it's just writing and coming up with titles of videos that I can do that day. And then in the afternoon, I'll record them. And then on the night time, I'm doing more research and other things. So it's literally like this constantly at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do on a working week. Zombie in the Air says, "I'll use Streamlabs to donate once you got it set up." Zombie in the Air, you're in luck. Link below, mate. Streamlabs.com/Gordon Dimmock. It's there. I think I've set it up so your donation will pop up right there. I'd really appreciate if somebody could send it because I don't know whether I've sent. I haven't had anything sent for it yet, so I don't know whether I've set it up right. No, you didn't miss much, Kenneth. Don't worry. First time here, I must have clicked, but wondering why, says Dave. Maybe you want some truth, Dave. Maybe you want some truth and you're fed up of the propaganda. Maybe that's the case. Oh, Joe, thank you. Me and my mate Claire love you. Oh, bless you. I love you too, Joe. You've been awesome. You've been with me since the 3rd video, I think, Joe. I think you've been with me since the 3rd video. Yeah, I think you were. Bless you. That's really nice. Trisha, I'm hiding from trick-or-treaters that have already started round here. They won't come to my flat. They won't come here. Maybe one day they'll smear you, says Zombie. Yeah. Maybe good. Thank you, Natural Progressive. I honestly, you say you're great at it. I honestly feel as if, I don't think I'm great at it. I do think I'm okay. I'm getting better as well as time goes on. I'm starting to structure videos in a better way. I'm starting to learn how to, lead into a video and then lead out of a video to make it more interesting. But yeah, thank you. Thanks, Sean. Man, you're a hero, mate. Fight the good fight, he says. I should do these live streams more than once a week. People keep saying. Do you find yourself ever getting depressed over the news, says Grant Jarvis? Yes, Grant. A couple of weeks ago, I took a week off unannounced. I was literally backed away for a week. And it was because I was feeling depressed. Because it was starting to get to me. There's only so much you can do from behind a desk, shouting into a video. And I had to just back away. Every now and then I'll go for like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then I'll just disappear for a week. So if ever I disappear for a week and you don't hear from me on Twitter, then I've been Novichoked probably. But yeah, it can really get to you because I care, unfortunately. Greetings from Canada, says RB Ham. Greetings, RB. Enjoy the legal weed, mate. You lucky buggers. Somebody's the British Jimmy Dore without the intentional comedy. Thank you, RB Ham. I'd like to think of Jimmy Dore as the American Gordon Dimmock, but I'll take it. That's a complete joke, by the way. I don't think of myself. I don't think of him like that. Have you ever checked out Robert Somin on YouTube? No, I haven't, Laura. Lorems, I haven't. Robert Somin. I'll check him out after this stream. Thank you, Lee. Much love to you too. Yes, good point. Good dog. Remember, all don't burn them hedgehogs in your bonfire. If you did build a bonfire, make sure you've given it a good clattering before you set it on alight. Hi, Neil. Good to stay in touch with Corbyn fans. Not just Corbyn fans here. There's quite a few right wingers as well. There's quite a few people who support UKIP and other parties over here and in the US as well. It can, Roma Charlie. It can really, reading the news and getting invested in it, it really can. It can take its toll. But I'm hardening to it now. I'm able to go longer without thinking, crap, I need to take a break from this, because it's Kenneth says you should do these live streams more than once a week. I'd watch for what it's worth. Yeah, Kenneth, I have thought about it, but I like pre-recording my videos. Doing it live is more important. You don't get a do-over. It's more difficult. You don't get any do-overs. So I've got a couple of stories I want to do tonight, and I'll release those as individual videos. But I'm never happy with them when I do them live, because when I record them, I'll record them and then watch them before I upload, just to make sure everything's correct. And I'll think of something while I'm watching it back and think, oh shit, I could add that in, I could add that in, I could add that in. And I'll literally just re-record the whole thing. Some recordings I'll record 3-4 different times. Thank you, that zombie chap. That's very kind of you. Let's see if this works. It does, mate. Thanks very much. Really appreciate all of your support. What was I saying? Yeah, I like pre-recording the videos because they just look better in my opinion. And when I'm watching them back, I can spot things and then go back in. And like I say, some videos I do 3 or 4 different times. I mean that climate change video I finished recording it yesterday. And I must have tried recording that about 15 different times and got messed up or missed things, and that, and I wanted it to be seamless. So, and then when I did it, I finally said, right, okay, I did it, and I missed off a massive important thing, so I had to redo it all again. But that's the only reason I don't go live as much. I like doing the video, recording the videos, pre-recording them. The best way to get depressed about the mainstream is not to watch it. Back in the day, I would have thrown bricks through the telly screen, says Neil Gardner. That video I did on when I watched Question Time last week, that's got some stupid amount of views now. It's getting on for 100,000. But I started it off by saying last night was a personal record. I got 14 minutes of Question Time. That's not a lie. That is the truth. Because at the 14th minute, the Conservative chairman who was on there said something completely ridiculous. And I really wanted to throw something at the TV. Well, at the monitor. Because I haven't got a TV. But yeah, Neil, you're right. Sean Calder, I tweeted you about Ticket. Did you take a look? I did, and I registered. I'm on there. There's not too many people on there, but I have registered, and just to get my name on there. Jimmy Timmy says, any thoughts on Monster Raving Uni Party? I know they're a parody act of politics, but they actually have some really good policies. Yeah, they're nuts. Personally, I like that what was his name, Lord Dustbin or whatever it was that ran against Theresa May. What was his name? Lord Dustbin? Had the massive dustbin on his head. He was dressed all in black. I liked him better than Monster Raver and Looney Party. Hi Katie, glad you could join us. Thank you, Zombie in the Air. It did work, thank you. Did you check out Natural Law Resource-Based Economy? I didn't, Kenneth. Like, I've been so swamped this week trying to finish those videos, but I will. It was NLBE, wasn't it, the acronym? I will check that out, I promise. There's also another video that I recorded yesterday. It'll be uploaded sometime. No, it's already uploaded. It'll be released sometime this week on what we can do. What we can do. You know, other than just talk amongst ourselves, that I promised somebody last week in a live stream. Ian Clark, I've felt better lately because I've stopped watching the news. Well, British news. I've become addicted to the soap opera that is Trump at the Madhouse. Marvellous stuff. When I first started this channel, I concentrated more on American politics than I did on British. And there's a reason for that, because America's just nuts. It's crazy, and everything they do is bigger and either better or bigger and far worse than us. There's nothing that's comparable from what I can tell. It's just an absolute circus over there. It's a circus. Thank you, Katie. There's no question on it. Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's a circus. It's absolutely a circus. But at the beginning of August, when I decided, I was watching an interview with Noam Chomsky, and somebody asked him a question, you know, close to what can people do, and his answer to that was to start at home, start in your own backyard. So that's when I sort of switched from predominantly American politics to predominantly British. But obviously I do keep up with American politics just because it's nuts. It's nuts. You've got a guy an absolute nutcase going into a synagogue, into a place of worship, murdering 11 people and injuring another 7 people. And within 2 hours, the president of that country is in front of reporters saying, you know what we've got to do? We've got to arm the synagogues. We've got to put armed guards in synagogues. The rest of the world sits back and looks at America doing that and just thinks, is this, like you say, soap opera? It really is a soap opera. You know, over here we take the piss out of our leader, Theresa May, although I don't like calling her that, because she said that the naughtiest thing she did was run through fields of wheat. In America, their leader shags porn stars. It's just so I know what you mean, mate. It is interesting. American politics is a hell of a lot more interesting than British politics. I've actually got a story about somebody in American politics tonight. In fact, that's a really good segue. So we're going to start this off right now. Because I'm in OBS Studio, I've got to change something here. Top right. Ah, this makes it so much more difficult, this does. Okay. So, my favourite American politician is apparently rumoured to be weighing a 2020 presidential bid. And honestly, this makes me very happy that this is coming into the open, that it looks like she's obviously going to run. This is an article in Politico, so it's, you know, it's not exactly truth dig you're hearing this from. Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii is considering running for president in 2020, a source with direct knowledge of her deliberations told Politico. Rania Beatrice, an advisor to the progressive congresswoman and deputy campaign manager on Bernie Sanders, 2016 presidential campaign, has been putting out feelers for digital and speech writing staff for Tulsi Gabbard. One person approached about the position said that 2020 wasn't mentioned explicitly, but was heavily implied. Excuse me. Patrice denied that the staffers are being hired for presidential campaign. She did not dispute, however, that Gabbard is considering joining what's suspected to be a crowded field of Democrats, of corporate Democrats, I should say, presidential contenders. Quote, I think everybody is focused on 2018, but we will see what happens after that, Patrice said in an interview. Someone like Tulsi with her experience is an important voice in the party and the country. Top aides to Gabbard did not respond to multiple requests for comment. I've got a frog in my throat. Amid the clamour of Trump headlines of focus on higher profile candidates, Gabbard has been quietly making the traditional moves of a presidential candidate. She recently visited Iowa, where locals urged her to run for president. According to Iowa City Press Citizen, she keynoted a progressive gathering in New Hampshire in September, and she's writing a book due out the spring titled Is Today the Day, Not Another Political Memoir. I should also add she's also been on Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen that Joe Rogan interview, it's an hour and 45 minutes of brilliance. It's just so wonderful listening to a politician that is genuine. That is the feeling I get from her, and that's why I've been a big supporter of her now for a couple of years. And actually, Joe Rogan says at the end of that, I like her because she's genuine. And she's also obviously been on Jimmy Dore as well and other places. She's not just sticking to the mainstream. She's obviously going down the progressive route as well, which is good to see. A 37-year-old Iraq war veteran, Gabbard won her House seat in 2012 and became the first Hindu to serve in Congress. She has distinguished herself with an anti-interventionist approach to foreign policy and the Middle East. This is one of the reasons why I'm a big supporter of hers, and a progressive populist economic policy that has earned her praise from the likes of Sanders and former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon. I'm not sure whether that's a good thing, but Gabbard has also drawn controversy, which would surely become a factor in any presidential race. In 2017, she came under heavy criticism for meeting with Syrian dictator Bashar Assad. Ooh, Politico calling him dictator. Obviously, they call the Saudi regime princes and from the kingdom. And expressing skepticism that he was behind the chemical attacks. Well, there's a reason that she had skepticism that he was behind the chemical attacks, because A, he would have no need or no advantage from doing chemical attacks. I've got a video coming out up on that in the next few days, dismantling a BBC article that they wrote in the last week. And also, you also have to check two things, most importantly, whenever there are allegations of anything of this kind. First of all, what actual evidence have you got, and where did that come from? Those two things in the media are sorely missed out from most of their reporting, and once you actually scratch under the surface, it becomes apparent that, hold on a minute, nothing is as cut and dry here as the mainstream and the establishment are telling us. And that's what she found, and this is also what I found as well. Urging caution over the use of military force that she cautioned. Because of that meeting. She also raised suspicion among progressives for meeting with President-elect Donald Trump during the presidential transition in 2016. I don't know how that would raise a suspicion with progressives. I know a hell of a lot of people who are establishment Democrats who were pissed off with that. Progressives weren't. Progressives were, no, get in there and try and change his mind on things. But Gabbard became the darling of the left in 2016, where she resigned as vice chair of the DNC after fighting against a primary debate schedule that seemed designed to give Hillary Clinton an advantage. There was no seemed about it. That's exactly what it was designed to give. She was one of the first members of Congress to endorse Sanders. Yes, she resigned as vice chair to endorse Sanders. This is a big plus for progressives. And, quote, there's a very clear contrast and clear difference when it comes to our two Democratic candidates, Gabbard said at the time, and who will exercise good judgment in matters of war. That was all she said about Clinton. Right. Can't get rid of this frog in my throat. I do apologise. Okay, so I've mentioned Tulsi Gabbard plenty of times on this channel. She's definitely my favourite politician in America. This is why, if you need to know where any politician stands, got this tip off Carl Kalinske yesterday. I was watching his live stream. Just type in their name and then on the issues. So Tulsi Gabbard on the issues, and this will it'll bring up her on the issues page. And as you can see here, she's great. She's great at the moment. Now she is on abortion, on the economy, on civil rights, corporations, crime. Just read the list down. I bring that up because that's how she is now, and the reason why I really want to talk about this video, about this subject most in this video, is because I've had a few people say that she's not as great as you think she is. She's not perfect. Well, my answer to that is nobody is perfect. So I started looking into her record, and indeed she isn't perfect. I've looked into it deeply, and I found a few things that I'm worried about, or rather you would be worried about when you see the headlines that certain people have written about her. However, I did find this article from the New Yorker after I'd done a load of research that was excellently put together, and so I thought rather than me explain what I think, I'll just read a couple of excerpts from this just to give you an idea of what she was bad on, why she was bad on it, and why she changed her mind, and where she stands now. So again, this is from the New Yorker of all places, but it says this. When Gabbard entered politics, she was only 21. She was 21. And in those early years, she was a social conservative, pro-life and active in the fight against same-sex marriage. I've had a few people, a few of my subscribers are gay, and they've said we're worried about this, so I promised them I would cover this, and I am doing. She is now pro-choice and pro-same-sex marriage on these and other issues. She has evolved enough to be almost, but not quite, at home in the contemporary Democratic Party, which is increasingly progressive, particularly on issues of gender and sexual orientation. For a decade, Mike Gabbard, who is a father, was Hawaii's leading opponent of gay rights movement. An energetic and often brusque, I think that's how you pronounce that word, activist who stood ever ready to denounce what he called the radical homosexual agenda. In 1999, after one of the main characters on the teen drama Dawson's Creek was revealed to be gay, Mike Gabbard flew to North Carolina, where the program was filmed, to lead a protest. And the reason why I've highlighted that is, with any form of bigotry, with any form of racism as well, you're not born that way. You're brought up that way. In 2003, she voted against a bill to oblige hospitals to, quote, provide emergency contraception immediately. This is when she was on the state legislature, or a representative for the state legislature, before she was in the House. To survivors of sexual assault, because it did not contain a conscience clause to allow providers with a religious objection to opt out. She supported government surveillance efforts. This is a big problem. Warning that the demand for unfettered civil liberties could make the nation vulnerable to terrorists, and she joined her father's battle against what she called homosexual extremists. In 1998, Mike Gabbard had successfully pushed for an amendment to the Hawaii state constitution to permit the legislature to ban same-sex marriage, which it did. 6 years later, Tulsi Gabbard led a protest against a bill that would have legalized civil unions for same-sex couples. So 6 years later, so that was 2004. Now, the reason why I picked this article up is because of this. As Gabbard was settling into a political career in 2003, so this is how she felt up to 2004, when I'm going on with the gay rights issues and the abortion issues. As Gabbard was settling into a political career in 2003, she did something surprising. She joined the National Guard. And when her brigade was shipped to Iraq, I said it the American way there, Iraq. It's Iraq. She volunteered to go, even though her name was not on the mandatory deployment roster. So she went to Iraq, did a tour of Iraq, and then she came back went out and did a tour of Kuwait as well. She actually did 2 tours in the Gulf War. She often cites her time in the Middle East when asked to explain her political reinvention. By the time she ran for Congress in 2012, Gabbard was presenting herself as a more or less orthodox progressive, pro-choice and pro-same-sex marriage. Quote, experiencing as a woman firsthand the impacts of countries that are acting as moral arbiters for their people, it really caused me to rethink the positions I held, she says. At a meeting in 2012, she apologised to LGBT activists in Hawaii for very divisive and even disrespectful things that she had said, obviously 8 years previous to her doing these 2 tours of Iraq. And then this is something else that the article touched on that has been something that has been Tulsi Gabbard has been accused of, and that's being as a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committee. I've even heard people saying, I'm not voting for her because she's on that. As this article says, Gabbard is a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees, but she's still trying to build support for a signature piece of legislation, the Stop Arming Terrorists Act, which would prohibit federal funding for, quote, Al-Qaeda, Jabhat Fateh al-Sham and ISIL, or any individual or group that is affiliated with, associated with, cooperating with, or adherents to such groups. Its main aim, as Gabbard describes it, is to force the CIA to stop aiding militants in Syria. And that is the main reason why she says that she is on that committee. So I wanted to be fair here, not just to Tulsi, but also to just try and explain her explanation of why she has changed her mind on same-sex marriage and abortion. And I think that covers it perfectly. I really do. She's about as progressive as it gets. I think you would be hard pressed to find anybody in politics in America who is as progressive as Tulsi. To be quite honest, I really hope, I said this last year, I said if America elects Tulsi Gabbard in 2020, the world will immediately forgive them for Trump. Honestly, I feel that strongly about her, and she better not disappoint me if she does get into that position. Run, Tulsi, run. That's all I've got to say. There you go, guys and girls. Hopefully that's covered quite a bit of the things that are thrown at Tulsi Gabbard and the problems that they believe that she's had. It does look like that she changed her view after 2 tours in the Middle East, and it looks like her views were indoctrinated into her from youth because her father was that way, and then she's gone out, she's seen the world and changed her position on it as soon as she's come back, and then gone into Congress in 2012, and ever since 2012 she has been and I've checked into her voting record and everything she said, she has been pro LGBTQ and pro abortion. There is another thing I didn't get to in that as well, that I wish I had touched on and knew more about. Apparently she's got some, I think she endorsed Modi in India or something like that people weren't happy with. But I didn't think that was too much of a big deal, but I'll have to look into it more. Hopefully, to anybody who thinks that Tulsi Gabbard was a little bit dodgy as a choice for president in 2020, hopefully that allays any fears that they have. Hi everyone, this is what people are saying. Lee Davenport, I'm a human who doesn't support murder of humans in the womb. I think you mean I'm a human who doesn't support termination of fetuses in the womb. There's a big difference, Lee. There really is. Good dog, says Gordon. Seems like a nice chap though. Thanks, man. I am honest. I'm a nice guy. Ask anybody. Thomas Rittenhouse, Tulsi Gabbard 2020, because the planet matters. Hashtag 12 years. I really, I know it's early, but America, they're in a perpetual state of elections. And, it's only going to be March. I think it's about March time when people will start declaring for 2020. March next year, they'll start declaring for 2020 because there's an 18-month bloody campaigning or something like that, which is just ridiculous. I hope she wins. Thanks, Sinead. I can't remember who. I'm hoping some of the people that were worried about Tulsi's positions on these things, it's allayed their fears a little bit. I've tried to be as thorough as possible in going through her history. I was really impressed by that New Yorker article. Thomas Rittenhouse, good job, Gordon. She evolved naturally and grew into a progressive, unlike the establishment Democrats acting like progressives. That's a really good point, Thomas. It does seem like that the anti-abortion and anti-gay stance that she had was indoctrinated into her, and once she went out and saw things in the real world, she changed her stances, and it was night and day between, I looked up the things that she was saying pre-2004. I remember, even in 2004, I think she was 24. Your mind isn't even developed as a human being or a woman until you're 25. So, that's something else to take into consideration as well. I certainly think, hopefully, if anybody is worried about Tulsi, just point her to this video. Just say, just watch this video. Watch, Gordon hopefully touched on some of the issues that people were worried about. Joe Hickey, don't like abortion, don't get one, don't have a womb, not your problem, is it? Simple. There you go, Joe. You know what, Joe? That is exactly my stance on it. Exactly. It's to anybody who's against abortion under any circumstances, blah blah blah. It's usually men for a start. What I found, men talk about it a lot. Would you like it if women started telling you what you can and can't do with your penis? Just stop telling women what to do with their bodies. Haven't we got past that? Surely we've got past that. I mean, I understand there's got to be limits. You can't go over X amount of weeks. I understand that, and I don't know enough about it. Medical people need to make those decisions. People in the medical practice, not politicians who are doing the bidding of the church rather than science. Hopefully that. I haven't got a problem with people who are against it, just as long as, they shut up. Stop telling other people what to do with their bodies. Dr. Jill Stein is more progressive than Tulsi Gabbard, says Cheryl Brandon. Yeah, probably. Tulsi. I think she stands for everything Jill Stein does, but Jill Stein wants to do away with student debt, and I haven't heard Tulsi say that yet. But then I did say Tulsi was my favourite, as progressive as it gets within the Democratic Party. And Jill Stein, she's great. She really is. She's great. I just wish the media would give her a fair whack. Jeremy Chase, isn't it weird that the same people who slaughter hogs and cows for every murderous war are pro-life? I will say this, I know that I think Lee Davenport is vegan, if I remember right. So he's not one of them. Most of the pro-life people are female, says Lee Davenport. Not in Congress, they're not. You look in Congress and the Senate, the pro-life people are all men. What does progressive mean? It means different things to different people, says Neil Gardner. This is the problem with it, because it's not been defined, has it? Which means you've got people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Nancy Pelosi saying that they're progressive, which is preposterous. I think it just means people who, for me, a progressive is somebody who is more about the whole of the country progressing rather than the top 10%. That's my idea of a progressive. And most Democrats do not fit in that category. In fact, the vast majority don't in America. And, you know, probably 150 Labour Party members over here are not progressive either. They're Blairites. But yeah, it's a good point, Neil. It's not been defined. But for me, somebody who wants the whole country and everybody, regardless of their pay scale, to progress and do better, rather than just the few. Abortion isn't even an issue in the UK. It's not zombie in the air, which is why my opinion on it is so matter of fact. It's just like, you know, you haven't got a problem with it. It's not your body. Tough shit. Shut up. You know, that's people in the UK have got this attitude because was it the 60s we changed our laws or something like something? It's 50 years ago. You know, it's get out the dark ages. Let's just go to my let's just see, because I think I heard Natural Progressive donated. Thank you. Yes, Tulsi, I hope so. Natural Progressive says, me too. Big time. I really am hoping. I really am hoping. If Bernie said no, I think I'm too old to go 8 years, but I'll support Tulsi for 4, and runs on the ticket with her. Forget it. Nobody's going to beat her. Nobody. Not from the left or the right. And I will say this. There are not many people in the Democratic Party who will beat Trump. There are not many. There's 3 or 4 at the most that will beat Trump. Because Democrats suck. And only progressive Democrats will be able to get the votes from the base, i.e., the Bernie wing of the party. That's their base, and they're the people they threw overboard 30 fucking years ago. Tulsi's one of them, Bernie's another. But the list is very short after that. Very short. It really does worry me that nutcase is going to get a second term. Enough with the insults, people, says Nikki. There you go. Moderator's told you. Banham's coming for all those people who are going to start insulting. We don't have any of that here. Progressive, Thomas Rittenhouse, one word. No spaces in it, but money out of politics. There you go. That's a good bar. To be a progressive, you need to want money out of politics in America, certainly. Katie Geek, women only get abortions to spite men and/or pro-lifers. We skip through the clinics, get in the stilts, and when we come out, we go, woohoo! We can't wait to do that again. Happy now. I sense an element of sarcasm, Katie. Oh. I'm loving this Streamlabs OBS. I really am. The chat doesn't skip or anything like it does on YouTube. Anti-war says Grandma Christine 42. Grandma at 42. Wow. Anti-war is another progressive thing to be. What sort of person is pro-war? The doctors in the UK, EU, who pushed to make abortion legal up to 23 weeks since 1967, did not see themselves as progressive. They saw themselves as professionals who wanted to safety choice for women. Really good point, Cheryl Brandon. This is what I say. Let the doctors, let the professionals decide, not some, you know, organisation that's full of people who are funded by right-wing think tanks and Christian groups. They're not the people who should be making the decisions. They're the last people who should be making the decisions. Leave it up to the doctors, leave it up to professionals. But America's just, it's one of those countries that's just broken at the moment. You sure just, somebody thought Pelosi was progressive. No, I'm sure that must have been a joke. Christian van der Stapp. Who is pro-war? That is easy. There are still psychopathic arms dealers. It's just... What sort of person would be would take money and then be pro-war because they've took money? I don't know. I don't know whether it's because I was brought up right or what. I don't... I can't get my head around why somebody would be that way. Or how they could just take money to feel a certain way. It's something I can't understand. I think if I could understand it, I'd probably be as bad as them. It's one of those things. Thank you, Jeremy. It's really cool, this is. No one has the right to force a woman to carry to term. Self-appointed douchebags think they can make this decision for them. Just wanted to support the show, Gordon. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Really appreciate it. You've been one of the people who've been here since my third video as well, along with Joe and many others in this chat. I really appreciate all your support. I can't do this without you. I really can't. You know, I'm still getting less than minimum wage. If you actually added up all my avenues of income, I'm still getting less than minimum wage, but I don't care. I really don't. I'm not doing this for the money, but I can't do it without your help. So I really appreciate every dollar that's sent. Exactly, Neil Gardner. The Clintons call themselves progressive. Exactly. Didn't get that, Roberto. Worst Ricky Gervais sketch ever. Are you talking about this stream? People keep saying I'm Ricky Gervais for some reason. Theresa May's husband sells arms, says Roma Charlie. He doesn't. He doesn't sell arms. Theresa May's hedge fund manager husband manages hedge funds that have massive amounts of shares in BAE Systems and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, etc. He doesn't sell them himself. He just profits from... Whenever Theresa May goes over and bombs Syria, like she did earlier in the year, and the stocks of Raytheon and BAE Systems and Lockheed Martin all went up, because, hey, that means they're going to be buying more missiles to replace the ones they've just destroyed. Her husband made millions on the back of that because the stock prices rose. So he doesn't necessarily sell them, but yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Covert White Rabbit. Here's a compromise. Every man who is pro-life must go before a panel of 20 women he does not know and get a prostate exam and their permission to get Viagra. Covert White Rabbit, you're not from the UK, because if that was the case, then instantly a lot of men would instantly go, yeah, I'm pro-life, I'll do that, just to get the prostate exam in front of 20 women. Butch96 says Gordon, America has always been broken. I think it has, but it's just in the last few years it's just become shattered. It did not happen. It did not happen on November the 8th, 2016. It's been happening progressively over the last 30 years. Trump is not the problem. He's a problem, but he's just the symptom of a larger problem is what he is. And the larger problem is, as I think somebody said earlier in this room, I forget who it was, money in politics. That's the problem in America. You fix that one thing and you fixed a lot of other things. You fix the problem instead of patching over the symptoms. Christian van der Stapp, just look at history. Bad people do bad things. We do not have a lot of them, but sure we do have. We have a lot of people. I just can't get my head around it, Christian. I can't get my head around what sort of person you would need to be, and I think it says a lot about the parents of people who are pro-war and profit from war. I think it says a lot about the upbringing. Have you noticed that the people who are pro-war tend to be quite rich? Exactly, JT Zuna. You've just basically said that. The UK government is pro-war because they are taking money. Thomas Rittenhouse, both parties are pro-war. In America they are, not in the UK. America needs an American spring 2019 to push a Labour Party here in the States. I've been thinking about this a lot, Thomas. Because there is an argument to say that the Democratic Party is unreformable in the US, and I actually subscribe to that belief. I subscribe to the belief that the Democratic Party is so corrupt that trying to reform it from within is a fruitless task, and the only way I think you're going to get any massive change on a quick basis is by way of independent. It doesn't have to be a green revolution or anything like that. It can literally just be lots of independents popping up all over the country. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a party. But I started thinking about how the Labour Party has been transformed under Corbyn. Because now you've got about, I don't know, 100 and something MPs, which are actually with Corbyn. The party's basically split almost 50-50 in my opinion. And now they've got deselection. The rest of them will be going within, or mandatory reselection. The rest of them will be out very soon, or either they'll either be out, or all of a sudden they'll have a change of tune, and they'll start. Oh well, maybe Israel isn't such a good country. Maybe we shouldn't be aligning ourselves with Labour friends of Israel and going over there on jaunts and watching. Watching colonial settlers destroy the houses of Palestinians that have been there for 70 years. But anyway, I digress. I've started to wonder whether sort of the takeover that's happened within the Labour Party could happen in the Democrats. I really don't think so. I've really given it a lot of thought as well. I don't think it's possible. I think the Democratic Party, I mean, you got to remember, They screwed Wallace. He was going to be the president in 1946 or whatever it was, 45. He was going to be the president, after the war. He was going to be vice president, and he would have took over when FDR died. But they did a backroom deal, and you got what's-his-face instead, and the CIA. CIA was formed 3 years later. Wallace was the Jeremy Corbyn of his time. They called him, I think he called him the working man's man. That was his title in the media, and they screwed him out of that. And that was the Democrats. And then you go through to the 70s. You remember it could have been the 60s or the 60s or 70s when there was they were cracking heads of the protesters for the Vietnam War, and you'd got the Democratic National Convention going on inside, and it was all done in backroom deals. It all happened in the back room. And then obviously you come to 2016, which is when they screwed Bernie Sanders, screwed America out of President Bernie Sanders. It wasn't the Russians, it was the Democrats. They've got a history of doing it, not just for the last 3-4 elections, for the last 70, 80 years. I can't see it changing. I really can't. Believe me, if I'm proven wrong, I'll be happy. I'll be happy that I've proven wrong. But I cannot see that party at all changing. I really can't. No matter how many progressives go in there. You might get 15 in there in the midterms through brand new Congress, Justice Democrats, but just look at the so-called progressives when they won their primary. People like the governor in Florida. All of a sudden, when they were running, Medicare for all. And then after they win their primary, affordable healthcare. All of a sudden, the wording changed. How many of those 15 or 20 progressives that will be elected through Justice Democrats or brand new Congress or, independents, how many of them will all of a sudden change their tune once they get in office? Because you know that when you look throughout the last 20 years, it has happened time and time and time again with politicians. So just bear that in mind. You're going to have, I reckon, probably about half of them start taking corporate money and changing their tune. You watch. That was my rant on the Democratic Party over with. Neil Gardner, I think we're witness to the eclipse of the USA as the main world power. Once the US dollar collapses, they will be forced to scale back their outlandish military budget. One of two. Can't see the next comment you did. Good point, Neil. I went around my mum's today. My mum and my neighbour were my mum and her neighbour there. And I put on Meet the Press because I like to go around and shout at the TV while I'm around there. And I was watching it and they were asking me questions. And why is Trump doing this? And and I was trying to explain it to them. And I said, listen, what you've got to understand is America is in the death throes at the moment of their reign as the world's leader, it's coming to an end. Most commentators think, within a decade, China will be the main force in the world. Personally, I think it will be way before that. If you look at what Trump is doing with these tariffs and the trade wars and the sanctions, and it's all to do with power, and they're losing it, and he's desperate, and you're starting to see him do things. Hold on a minute, tariffs on aluminium, It's desperate. It's all about trying to remain top dogs in the world, and it's coming to an end. The country's broken. It needs fixing. Mind you, our country's broken as well, so it's not like I'm slagging America off. I've just seen the 2 of 2. That's why big business is now openly globalist. They trust Macron and Merkel more than Trump. Good point, Neil. Glad you're on the same page as me, mate. Sylvia Ross. Sylvia. Love that name. My favourite name, that is Sylvia. Got to get my list of cartoon characters ready to write on the Alabama ballot because I ain't voting Republican and probably may not vote Dem. That is, if there are any Dems on the ballot. Well, it's Alabama, so it probably won't make any difference. But you know what? If you had a progressive Democrat in Alabama who was running on, especially in, not the state, but in House races in Alabama, but they were running on Medicare for all, ending the wars, ending the drug wars, free college, blah, 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 all the progressive things, they'd win, even in Alabama. I've said this all along. All the Democrats have got to do is come out and say, we support Medicare for all, and they would sweep to power from east to west. But they won't do it because they're taking money. Lawrence Taylor, hi Gordon, sorry for being late. My dog peed on my homework. That's okay, Lawrence. You can always watch it back, mate. Hi, Mystery. Imagine, if you will, the notion of wars only being fought by daylight back in the day. No sneaky ass business. Now it's all about decimation for the market share. Well, look at, America are in 8 wars right now, openly, wars. But then you look at all the other countries that they've put sanctions on and they're crippling. Venezuela. You know, there's probably 5 or 6 countries in South America alone they're doing, and that's before you get to Libya and Iran and Iraq and blah blah blah. We come into it's the twilight of, I think, of the American empire. Yes, they would win, says Sylvia Ross, but they're too chicken shit. Yeah, exactly. So you're going to go and write on the ballot, I vote for Scooby-Doo, and first time I ever voted, I spoiled my ballot. I say that. The first time I voted properly was in the referendum, and before that I spoiled my ballot once. I voted for Jeremy Clarkson. I'm quite proud of that, actually. I've lost count of the amount of wars America is in, Lawrence. I mean, I saw a stat the other day on Mint Press News. It was something, I might get the amount of countries wrong, but comparative to how many countries there's a military presence, there are 157 countries in Africa. America has a military presence in 156 of them. I know it's literally just one less than the amount of countries in Africa. In fact, let me check that stat. No, that stat is pretty much right. And the only reason they're over there is resources. That's the only reason. It's just a resource grab. Hi, Skullman 8942. Richard Ojeda is the prime example of this is a real progressive, tired and predicted to win in a deeply red state, West Virginia. I don't know a lot about him, but oh yes, I do. Richard Ojeda, he's the guy who gave out his phone number, isn't he? That guy is going to fucking win. As soon as he did, when I heard him on, where did I hear him on? I think he was doing some sort of debate, or sort of was on TV. It was something I saw him on, and he was brilliant. He was brilliant. And he gave out his telephone on like he did an advert and gave out his telephone number and like, I don't give a shit. You got a problem? Call me. I'll see what I can do to fix it. He's going to win, that guy is. Good point, Skullman. I'm glad you brought that up. Richard Ojeda, I'm sure that it's the white guy with the really short hair, isn't it? I'm sure I know it. I'm sure it's that guy. US still blockades Cuba. Why, says Hoodie Woman. It's those damn communists, isn't it? Which of Jeremy Clarkson's policies attracts you? Solar-powered Ferraris? No, I think the policy that attracted me most about Jeremy Clarkson was punching Piers Morgan. I think that was the policy really that made me vote for him in that election. I think his policy of punching Piers Morgan squarely in the face, I think that was a vote winner for me. Jeremy Clarkson will spend most of his energy furnishing the local police with Lambos for the lull, says it ID Warp. I remember it was the year that everybody. I think there was a petition to get him to run for president or something like that, to run for prime minister rather. And somebody asked him what he'd do, and he said, "Well, basically, I'd just scrap everything. I'd scrap the whole government and go home. You know, taxes would still get collected, but yeah, I'd just scrap the government." So you can't get much more of a libertarian than that. Miss Tree says, you can't even believe the fear I witnessed here in the States of a Venezuelan exchange student, completely afraid of speaking the truth due to perceived ramifications of doing so. Shit, Miss Tree. What state's that in, man? Venezuela's in a terrible mess, but it's, the majority of the mess is not because of Venezuela's, cocking their economy up and overspending, relying too much on oil. Yes, that was a problem, but the majority of it, America noticed this, and that's when they came in with their sanctions. I mean, they've had sanctions on Venezuela since 2015 for 3 years now, that I've heard Abby Martin compare them to sanctions worse than Nicaragua in the 1980s. That's how bad the sanctions are on Venezuela. You know, remember, Abby Martin, Empire Falls nearly went under, nearly stopped completely. One of the best journalists, best investigative journalists in the world, especially on South America and Israel and Palestine, and almost, you know, had to quit. Because it's not that they didn't have money and couldn't pay her. They literally couldn't get the money to her because of the sanctions that America were putting on Venezuela. They can't export, you know, they can't exchange their money and put it into dollars or anything like that. They are crippling the country. And, you know, China are jumping in there and filling the void again. You know, I've just done another deal with them, China have. The president was over there a couple of weeks ago doing deals with Venezuela. They're going to be screwed if they carry on, America are. But I think they know that and they're desperate. Or rather, the American government. I don't mean the American people. Whenever I talk about America negatively, I never mean the American people. I spent months in America in 2008. Some of the best people in the world I met over there. I think everybody's laughing that I said Jeremy Clarkson was a vote winner because he punched Piers Morgan. I've got a feeling that everybody's laughing because of that. Yeah, it is. Punching Piers Morgan just means he's a human being. It's a natural response. God, that guy. He's just the worst. He really is. Thomas Rittenhouse, in the state of Georgia, voter suppression is being done by hashtag #ReThuglicons. I've never heard that, #ReThuglicons. In minority neighbourhoods, and the DNC is doing nothing about it. Same in Kansas. Was it Kansas that they literally just closed the polling for one town that is like 90% Afro-American and Hispanic? They literally just closed. No, I think it was a city, wasn't it? They closed the polling place and now it's going to be, you know, 50 or 60 miles away or something stupid. It's not good, man. It's vote rigging, that sort of thing. It's a massive, massive sign of fascism. It's one of the last signs of fascism. Once the vote, that you know, the rigged elections get in, that's it. There's fuck all you can do. It's took hold. It's really worrying. Really worrying. This is better than TV, says Good Dog. Oh, thank you very much. And on that note, Good Dog, there is a story that I want to get to. It's not going to be a long one. And that's not the first time I've ever said that in my life. Where am I? I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. There we go. Okay, so top right. Properties. Scroll down. Delete that. Done. And I think this should show up. Okay, so here's a story that is quite deep with my heart, or to my heart rather, because I am a big dog lover. My little dog is over there at the moment. She's come off from under the bed where she's been shaking because of the fireworks going off. But a Labour MP has urged the government to changes to the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act. Now, I saw this in the BBC. I apologise for the source. Dangerous dogs. PM urged not to treat pit bulls as collateral damage. This is something that I am... It's deep to my heart. Let's just read this article quickly, and then we'll I'll get to what I think at the end of it. An MP has pressed Theresa May to change dangerous dog laws to stop pit bulls being treated as collateral damage. Labour's Gordon Marsden said pit bull type dogs were routinely put down due to a law which designates bull terriers as a prohibited breed and judges them on physical attributes, not behaviour. He said the thought of a rescue dog he owned being destroyed because his face did not fit in court is chilling. You're damn right. The Prime Minister assured him the issue would be looked at very carefully, she said, which means probably not at all, knowing Theresa May. Raising the issue at Prime Minister's questions, Mr Marsden highlighted a recent report by the Commons Environment Committee which called for an overhaul of the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act and its specific breed definitions. The Pit Bull Terrier is one of the 4 breeds banned by the Act, although owners can get a certificate of exemption if a court believes the dog is not dangerous. I have checked into the other 3 breeds. To be honest, there were 3 breeds I'd never heard of them. One was a Japanese Foku or something like that. This bill mainly targeted pit bulls. MPs have said the law is dysfunctional because the majority of deaths caused by dogs since then have been by non-specified breeds. Exactly. The 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act came in to stop. They thought it was going to limit and bring down the number of attacks by dogs. Of course it didn't, because it's a stupid thing to do, and I'll get to why at the end of this. They also criticised the fact that specified breeds cannot be transferred to new owners even if they are not judged to pose a threat. So let's say somebody has a pit bull and falls ill, maybe gets in a car accident, can't look after the dog anymore. Dog goes to a pound, can't transfer or sell that dog on. That dog's going to get destroyed. A loving dog, just because owner can't take care of him anymore. This is atrocious. Mr Marsden referred to the comments made by Environment Minister Lord Gardner when he appeared before the committee about the case of a pit bull type dog which had to be put down by Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. Asked whether he regarded the death of a dog, even though he may have been good-tempered, as just collateral damage, the minister replied yes. The Blackpool South MP told Mrs May this was unacceptable and the specific breed definition needed to be formed as a matter of urgency. Quote, hundreds of pit bull type dogs are confiscated yearly with no impact on dog bite numbers. Of course not. You're so right, and you've got such a wonderful name, Gordon. It's no wonder that you're extremely intelligent. Will the Prime Minister ask the Environment Secretary to act urgently on the committee's recommendations? My wonderful Bull Terrier type dog was rescued from the streets, and to think of her as being destroyed because her face did not fit in court is chilling. Animal charities have called for changes to the way pit bull type dogs are assessed for the purposes of the law. At the moment, their parentage and genetic heritage are not taken into account. Dogs are evaluated instead largely on their physical characteristics, measured against a 100-point scale, of which 10 points are allocated to the dog's attitude and behaviour. And you can bet your ass that the people who are, putting together the point system for that really don't know a great deal about dogs. The Prime Minister thanked Mr Marsden for highlighting this issue and pledged a review. Quote, I had not looked at the detail of the report on that particular issue, but I can assure him that the Environment Secretary is himself a keen dog owner, as indeed is the Chancellor, and he will be looking at this issue very carefully, she said. Right. This is something I am going to find out after the stream has ended, and find out whether there's a petition to scrap this 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act, because it's wrong, and here's why. There's no such thing as a bad dog. There are only bad owners. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether a pit bull's bite may be a strong bite compared to other dogs, and they may be muscly or anything like that. That doesn't make them dangerous. They are no more dangerous than a Chihuahua. They are no more dangerous than my mum's mum's West Highland Terrier. In fact, West Highland Terriers are notorious for being bad around children. Pit bulls are wonderful dogs, extremely loving and extremely caring for their owners if they are treated correctly, the same as any dog breed. This is one of the most ridiculous laws that we've got. And the amount of pit bulls that have been put down over the last nearly 30 years now is atrocious. It really is. This is not the dogs who are to blame. It's the owners. It is that simple. There is no such thing as a bad dog. There are only bad owners. And the quicker the idiots in Parliament understand that and change this fucking stupid law, the better. And if anybody out there is confused as to what a pit bull is and how to differentiate a pit bull from a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, for instance, of which my dog is half Staff. If you need any idea as to how to differentiate which is which, let me make it clear to you. If it's short and muscly and it's aggressive and it's a bit stupid, the chances are he'll own a fucking pit bull. This act has got to go. It's stupid and it's archaic, and it really is indicative of our government because they can't do a damn thing right. There you go. That's my bit. Let's hope she's just sitting there. She was just sitting on the couch looking at me. What? Come round this side. Yeah. What's she doing? Say hello. Oh, you want a treat? Here's your paw. Take it away. Somebody's disagreeing with Thomas Rittenhouse. Oh dear. We disagree by miles, Thomas Rittenhouse. Miles and miles, says Mick Brown. I know Thomas Rittenhouse. Chances are you're wrong. It is never the dog's fault, says Thomas Rittenhouse, but how you raise your dog and train your dog. Exactly. You know, my dog is half Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and there are people who, stupid people who are uneducated in this country who say that Staffordshire Bull Terriers are dangerous dogs. There's no such thing as a dangerous dog. Stop being stupid. No such thing. There are only bad owners. That's it. When I first had Ellie, she was badly mistreated for the first few months of her life. I had her when she was about 6 or 7 months old, and for the few months before, she was badly mistreated. And when I first had her, she went for me 2 or 3 times. The once she went for me because I picked up a broom to sweep something from the floor. She saw the stick in my hand and went for me. What does that tell you about the upbringing of the dog? That tells me that the dog's been whacked by a stick, because whenever I picked it up, she went for me and then she run off and was hiding in the bedroom every single time. To this day, she's still unsure. She's not as bad as she was, but when I would go to work, because I had a 9-to-5 job at that time, when I first had her, I'd go to work and she would grab my quilt from my bedroom, drag it all the way down the hall, and lie on the hall. She bit through a sofa, literally a big hole in the sofa. She learned how to open the fridge and eat everything in the fridge. So I put one of those plastic child locks on the fridge. She managed to get in there and then pulled a child lock off a fridge. I had an absolute nightmare with her for the first 6 months I had her, because of how badly she was mistreated by that one person for the first couple of months of her life. It wasn't even the first couple of months, it was actually the second 3 months of her life, by one person. That's how much damage it did to one dog, just for 3 months. That's all he had her for. When I first had her, she was emaciated so much that I didn't even open the gate. She walked straight through the gap in the gate, which was about that big. That is why dogs get vicious. That is why dogs get dangerous, because they're mistreated, or they're taught to be that way by idiots who thinking having a pit bull is a status symbol to see how hard they are. Like I say, short, stocky people who are a bit stupid. They're the ones who own pit bulls, unfortunately. Nikki, you've just brought up a really good point there. There's a side thing about the crash in Leicester, the helicopter thing of the Leicester owner. It's just terrible, absolutely terrible. You never know when your time is up. You just never do. So make the most of it while you're here. That's all I'll say. Kisser for me later, Gordon Dimmock says mystery. I will do. She's the best, aren't you, Al? You're the best, aren't you? Lying there, wagging a tail. Great co-host, says Phil Riley. You don't do much, do you? So I'm not much of a co-host. Doing all the bloody work myself. It's ever so funny. When you talk to her, she goes... There he is, prick up. One Love, sorry, but I have lived with dogs my whole life. Actually, dogs have their own personalities. We do have a big impact, but never 100% trust a dog, especially with babies. Never, they get jealous. I disagree with that. I wouldn't 100% trust a dog I didn't know. I wouldn't trust any dog I didn't know with a kid. Ellie's brilliant. Trust her with children, no problem. It's all about how you bring them up. It really is. I've got Ellie trained so well now. When I go out for a walk with her, I don't even have to. Half the time, I don't even have to give her voice commands. She can just tell where I want her to be. You know, it's almost a click on my fingers, and I can tell where she wants to be. That's why you should have a dog. A dog is there for a partnership with you. It's not there to be, stuck outside in a frigging kennel in the cold. It's part of your family, and that's the way it should be treated, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that you're wrong saying never 100% trust a dog. I will say that that's a valid thing to say, One Love. I would 100% trust my dog there. The only thing I wouldn't trust my dog with is a bird. For some reason, when birds... I used to have a pair of lovebirds. I gave them away in the end. But whenever I'd let them out and they'd fly around, they'd fly over her head, and she would go for the bird just because it was new to her and she didn't know what it was. It wasn't like she was being vicious. Like when a fly goes over her head, she tries to catch the fly. So I wouldn't trust her around the bird. Cat, she's brilliant. When I first had her, by the way, Cats, she nearly broke my window because she saw a cat outside and ran straight for it. She was vicious. Now, you've seen the neighbourhood cats come round and say hello to her. She's got pictures of them cuddled up on the sofa. It's just a ridiculous law, that is. That 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act, it was bloody ridiculous. My dog doesn't have to figure out anything. The cats knock the food on the floor for her, says Jamie Chase. My dog can open the door, by the way. I went round a neighbour's once, who was 2 doors away from me. I go round there regular. So I go out my door, my front door, my porch door, my gate, through their gate, their front door, their porch door, and she opened all 6 of them. And that is no word of a lie. That is the truth. Clever. Clever. Yeah, that dog's cute, Cheryl. Really cute. Jimmy's dog is just beautiful, little brownie. Ellie would love her. I'd love him. Yeah, Lawrence, UK Football Club owner, the owner of Leicester City Football Club. He's after each match, an hour after each match, when the stadium's empty, a helicopter would come in and land on the pitch and then take him off to wherever it is he lives. Obviously, I suppose he lives in London somewhere, and it took off and crashed. And I think four passengers and 3 crew or something like that were killed. It's just disastrous, really is. It sounds to me like the tail rotor there was a problem with the tail rotor because it was spinning. It's big news over here. Sylvia Ross, Brownie is the mellowest chihuahua I've ever seen. He must be as old as dirt. I think he's an old dog. I think they've had him. I don't think that. I think they've had him when he was quite old. I'd trust a dog more than my cat, says Katie. Yes! I wouldn't trust my cat with bloody anything. At least when I had a cat. Thankfully, my little ones have learned to stay clear of him unless he comes to them first. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't trust a cat, especially around kids as well. Wouldn't trust, young babies rather. Yeah, it is terrible, Sylvia. It's terrible. Just terrible, terrible, terrible. You never know when your time is up, man. At any time, bam, you could be gone. I prefer my pit bull over 90% of people, says Jeremy Chase. Jeremy, I prefer my dog over 100% of people. Even though I love people, love my dog more. It's unconditional. It really is. There's a couple of things I wanted to get to, actually. Have you seen this, by the way, everyone? Alfie Dingley, leading a normal, happy life, thanks to medical cannabis treatment. 150 seizures a day he was having, I think. Where is it? Alfie Dingley suffers from a rare form of epilepsy that was causing up to 150 seizures a month. Has not had any seizures since July, when he finally got this cannabis medicine from Sajid Javid. He nearly died, that kid did, because our government is stupid. And look at him. Look at that cute little kid. He could be dead right now. Cute little kid. Cannabis. Tell you what, Alfie, you better grow up and not be an arsehole. You better grow up and actually do some good in the world. But yeah, leading a normal, healthy life. Oh. You know, we're almost all of us here, a bunch of bleeding heart liberals here, a bunch of throwbacks to the 70s, says Hoodie Woman Louisiana. I'll take that. I wouldn't mind being around in the 60s. Hi Keith. If you die, your dog will lay down beside you and starve. Your cat will eat your face. You're absolutely right there. My dog wouldn't starve. She'd get outside and go around the neighbours and ask the neighbour to come round. She'd open the doors herself. Lawrence, it happened last night. The helicopter crash. Cats are shits, Katie. I love them. I love cats. Actually, this is probably the first time in my life I've gone without a cat for any length of time, because my cat got run over in the summer last year, and I couldn't bring myself to get another one. Yeah, poor little fella. Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to get another one, so this is the first time in my life that I've actually not got a cat for any length of time. There was a time when I had, I think, 2, and then I went to live with a girlfriend, so there was 3. But yeah, not anymore. It's the only problem, they die, and it's devastating when they do. Jeremy Chase, we don't need an excuse to smoke weed. I'm not going to read the rest of that sentence. I'm just going to leave it there, mate. No, did you know weed can prevent sclerosis of the liver for heavy drinkers? It's not sclerosis, it's cirrhosis. Yeah, it can. It's got some wonderful healing qualities, it really has. Miss Trio already gave my cats permission to eat me. We have a Zoroastrian commitment. Oh, right, okay. Oh, Nick X Core 74 says, did you see J.K. Rowling's anti-Corbyn tweets again, claiming he's doing not about anti-Semitism? I did yesterday. She went on a tweet storm last night. I can't even reply to her, Nick. It's not even worth replying. It's stupid. It's just stupid. One Love says cats only love you if you feed them, and if you feed them, if you don't, they bugger off. Sometimes you feed them and they do bugger off. I've known plenty of people who've had their cats bugger off, and they were lovely to them. Mick Hill says, my cat is sat here watching this. He keeps looking at me. That'll give you all pause for thought. That's why I'm not a comedian. But Gordon, your neighbour has enough cats, so she shares with you. He's got 5 cats, man. Last night, the one came knocking on the door outside. I could hear this tap on the window. Tapping on the window. Went there and sitting there looking at me. Let me in. Let me come and see Ellie. Is there a pending no confidence vote on May, says Covert White Rabbit? Right. Yes and no. It's not official, but it is a thought that over 40 letters have been received by the chair of the 1922 Select Committee. And there needs to be 48 for the vote of no confidence. However, if there is a vote of no confidence in May and she goes, okay, fine, I will stand for re-election, then she only needs the support of something like 168 MPs. That's all she needs. She doesn't need a 50-50 or anything like that. It's only 168. I think it's something like 60 or 70% need to vote against her for her to lose power. However, if that happens, I can't see her standing for, in sort of the election or the vote of no confidence. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know this. I don't think the Conservatives will get to that 48. I don't think they will. Because the Conservatives suck. And they know if it gets to 48, then they're risking them being in government. So they won't do that. Even if it is right thing for the country to do, they won't. It's party over country with them. So yes, there's sort of a vote of no confidence looming over ahead. But I have said all along, actually this is a good segue, this is. But I have said all along, as subscribers here will know, that a second referendum was inevitable after the first. The way I felt before the first referendum was, this is dumb. You can't have an in-out referendum without defining what out is, because there are various types of out you could have. You could have a total out, a total no deal. You could have a Norway model. You could have a Canada model. And there are all sorts of things in between and all sorts of things to think about, especially the Irish border. So I said all along, there's going to be a second referendum. It's written in the stars, so to speak. And then if you look back in history, whenever there's been a vote that the EU didn't like, it's either been ignored or they've been asked to vote again. Think Maastricht, think Greece, think some of the other votes that they've had. So this was inevitable. And this, I noticed, was in The Independent yesterday. Michel Barnier told to plan for a second Brexit referendum as final say petition approaches 1 million signatures. Now, this is from the little video. I'm only going to share the first few seconds. Just listen to what they're chanting.
No May, no Brexit, no racist EU exit.
No May, no Brexit, no racist EU exit. That's what they were shouting at that 600,000 march,
no
the other 700,000 march.
No racist EU exit. No May, no Brexit, no racist EU exit.
Why isn't EU exit racist? But yeah, this goes into it. I'll cover this in a video tomorrow. No doubt I'll talk about it. But second referendum's coming. I've said it all along, everyone. It's going to happen, whether you like it or not. Personally, if there's a second referendum, Remain better not be on the ballot. We've already had that vote, whether you like it. I voted Remain. But I voted Remain for different reasons, because I thought the vote was stupid. It's coming. I said she was going to. Remember, I said all along she's going to extend it as well. She's going to extend it the period, and they're trying to do that now. Referendum's coming. I was Lexit, but I think referendum 2 is a good idea. I won't be voting Remain, put it that way. I'll be voting for the hardest frigging Brexit there is if they put Remain on the ballot, just to piss them off. Just have a Canada-style Brexit. Just have a Canada-style Brexit. Let Ireland have their vote. You know. But then obviously Scotland will have their vote, and the SNP will throw a gigantic Scottish spanner in the works. I don't mean that badly against the Scottish at all. It's just the SNP I don't like. Some studies have revealed promising use of canna for ADHD, autism and many other health issues. Appears there may be a risk of developing cyclical vomiting disorder, which seems to occur if going without seismistry. Brilliant cannabis is for people who are going through radiation therapy and they've got the sickness. It's one of the only things that will stop it. And it's got a massively high success rate as well, cannabis has. So even if it can't cure cancer, and there's a chance it might, even if it can't cure, it can certainly cure the side effects of the shit that you have to go through at the moment when you go through cancer treatment. Keith Duran, everybody gets water from a tap, but that is not wasteful enough. We need to pay for it wrapped in plastic. Plastic waste, man. I saw a picture of a shark earlier. Massive, like 25-foot shark with a piece of plastic. It had obviously got some plastic stuck around its neck when it was smaller, and now it's cutting into its skin by like 4 inches. This plastic is. It's just horrible. Horrible. Just dump it in the ocean. One love. Putin and Xi will be calling the shots soon as Trump buries the US in trade problems and collapses the economy. They're pretty much doing it already. One love. Putin and Xi. They're the next ones to take over the running of the planet. Thomas Rittenhouse, it sounds like the Tories are as corrupt as our Republican Party here, and thought they were only as corrupt as the Democrats. No, they're only as corrupt as the Democrats. They're only as bad as the Democrats. The Tory Party in our country, in the UK, are the Democrats. People don't realise this in America. There's an old sketch. Said it before. It was somebody on a live stream that told me about it. There's an old sketch from 1964 with Dudley Moore, and I'm forgetting the name of the other guy who was in it. It wasn't Peter. What's his face? But the American guy is trying to explain to Dudley Moore politics, and he says, well, this is the difference between UK and American politics. In American politics, we have the Republican Party, which is the same as your Conservative Party back home, and then we also have the Democratic Party, which is the same as your Conservative Party back home. The Conservatives are everything that the Republicans are, but they're pro-choice and they're okay with gays getting married and gay people getting married. That's the Democrats. That's, who we've got running our country. You haven't got a left party. Well, the Greens are a left party in America, but you haven't got a major left party in America. And the Democratic establishment are making sure it stops that way. I mean, for Christ's sake, pay go. Nancy Pelosi, pay go. You're assuring that you're never going to have a program that benefits your base. You're assuring that with this pay go that she's unreal. Keep talking about cannabis, Gordon. Lawrence, I will do. As long as I've got a breath in my body, I will be talking about it. And when I'm not talking about it, I will be smoking it. Leave then and leave now. Any true lefty cannot possibly support undemocratic, unaccountable bullshit EU. Joe, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I understand why people are scared of it. I do. But the one thing that I see the comments whenever I do a Jeremy Corbyn video or Theresa May video, I see the comments. I don't respond to them as much now because, you know, it doesn't take long before I get to somebody wishing cancer upon me. But the biggest problem I have, the biggest bugbear I have with people is people thinking that Jeremy Corbyn wants to stop in the EU. This is somebody who's aligned with Tony Benn, for Christ's sake, whose hero was Tony Benn, one of the most anti-EU politicians there has ever been in politics in the UK. That's his hero. Corbyn, we are in a unique situation, and we have been for the last 2 years, where Theresa May is pretending she wants to leave the EU when really she wants to stay. Jeremy Corbyn is pretending he wants to stay in the EU when really he wants to leave. The biggest thing that pisses me off whenever I do a Corbyn and my video is the amount of people out there who are like, yeah, but Corbyn wants to stop in as well. It's like, Christ, can you not read between the lines here? You know, do you not understand how much of a socialist this guy is and how anti-socialist the EU is as an organisation? They don't like socialism. They are fine with far-right extremism. They're fine with it. Socialism, not so much. Don't think Corbyn's going to want to be part of that. He's got to be seen to be doing everything, and that's why he's laid out these 6 steps. But other than that, they'll go. They'll leave. They'll get you... they'll sign on to a customs union. Not the customs union. A customs union with them. A new one. And that's the way they'll do it. Let's get down to the bottom here. Jimmy Chase, I'm smoking weed right now. Oh, jealous. And not dying from anything at the moment. I shouldn't have an excuse to myself for enjoying my free time. I'm actually more productive on it than not. I am too. I'm not one of those people who, you know, it depends on what the strain is. People don't realise that. They say, oh, well, it's one of the things they said in the Parliament when they discussed this, the last time I saw it. I did a video on it with Sajid Javid. And one of the arguments they said was, it's a production killer. It kills people's production. Well, first of all, it kills some people's production. Other people are fine on it. They can function. And second of all, there are many different strains that you can get. And in each different strain, there are many different people react to it a different way. Some people have what's called a wake and bake. You know? There's somebody, I think, Keith, who's probably in this chat now. That's how he starts his morning. You know? It all depends on what you're growing and how you react to it. You know, there's so much nonsense around it. You carry on smoking it, mate. I'm glad you are. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Drink distilled water and take out all the non-organics. You might get a shock about UK water standards, says Joe Hickey. I always boil my water. Always. There's a lot of shit in water that shouldn't be there in high levels. Trying to think of the one that's really high that I saw. Was it chlorine? I think there's high levels of chlorine in our water in the UK. It's much safer than in America, I will say that. Tap water is potable, says Lawrence. Yep, in our country. My fear on Brexit, says Katie Geek, is that we are inserting ourselves even further up America's arse. That is my fear too, Katie. We are aligning ourselves with America and distancing ourselves from the EU, and, well, not the EU, Europe. My fear is that we are aligning ourselves with the country that, as I've discussed earlier, is coming to the end of its time as the rulers of, you know, the world. It's not a good decision. I'll be fine with Brexit. I'll be fine with Brexit. I'll be fine with stopping in. I don't care really either way. Honestly, I don't. I would rather leave. But either way, it's got to be done with Jeremy Corbyn. It's got to be. We cannot. Let the Tories do this. We can't. They will, you know, all the bad stuff they're doing to this country right now and the poorest people in this country. You wait till there's another recession because of Brexit. If you think things are bad now, you wait. Jamal Thomas did a great video. Great video. And the Tories have called their budget for post-Brexit the Yellow Hammer. And the reason is there was an Enid Blyton story or poem years ago called The Yellow Hammer, and there's a line in it called a little bit of bread, no cheese. So they're going to give us bread but no cheese. Do you see? This is how evil the Tories are. We cannot, whether we stop in the EU or leave, either way. I would rather leave. Either way, I want it done with a Labour government and not a Labour government, a Jeremy Corbyn-led government. Pelosi is shit and so is Pago, says Thomas. Couldn't have said that better myself, mate. Happy to hear you mention something, says somebody, and then I lost it. Happy to hear you mention that many in the US have no clue of the difference between our parties with names the same as yours. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you. More people in the US need to understand our Conservatives are the exact equivalent of the Democrats. Exact. Not all UK water has fluoride. That was what I was thinking of, Nikki. Thank you. Fluoride. There are parts of the country that have extremely high levels of it in their water there. Jeremy Chase says, Katie, do you really believe you can place yourself further up the crevice of America's ass? Don't you remember Margaret Thatcher? we can get far further up there. Smoking weed after the stream, says Zombie. Yeah, it's not going to be long. We're an hour and 52 minutes in. I'm just going to get down to the bottom of here, and then I'm going to end this, guys and girls. I believe the EU will not allow the nationalisation of the railways, so Corbyn cannot stay in the EU, says poor dude. Excellent point. Excellent point. Not just the railways. Other things as well, they will stand in the way of it. They do not like socialism, the EU don't. Anybody who tells you Jeremy Corbyn wants to stop in the EU, flatly tell them that is bullshit. You're being propagandised by the TV. Bullshit. Use your brain. Sativa says Sinead. I like a sativa. I like indica as well. It depends on the situation. If it's early in the morning or if it's during the day, or for instance, when I'll take Ellie for a walk during the day, I'll usually have one by the sort of river I take her to. I get to the river, she runs about in the river, and I'll have a joint, and that'll be a sativa because I can function in the day in a sativa. But indica I'll leave indica for a night time because I'm a terrible sleeper. You see, I've always had trouble sleeping. But indica's great for me at night. It just knocks me out. Makes me. Now that really does, kill my. It's really weird because an indica will kill my production. My production. I won't be able to do much. However, my creativity level will go way up. So although my production level will go down, my creativity will go up. I had an idea the other night when I was smoking weed, and you'll see a video hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months once I've finished it, because it'll actually be me singing a song that I thought about when I was on weed. And I've just got to learn all the chords to the guitar and finish the words to it. But that was because I was high. There was no way I would think of that. Just when I was watching a music video, I thought, I could change the words to that. I would never have thought of that if I wasn't high. And that was an indica hybrid. That was 70%, I think. Keith Durant. Hi, Keith. 50 years of smoking marijuana daily, I work for most of them. See? It's a production killer for some people will get couch lock. Others will think, yeah, okay, what can I do? Oh, this is good. Can I clean? I know one person. I won't mention who they are, but because they're close to me. But I know one person who, the only time I've ever seen them have weed, the times I've seen them having, know them very well. The first thing they do after they've smoked it is go and clean the house. They clean the house from top to bottom. It's like, you know, it turns them into Monica Geller from Friends as soon as they have a joint. I tell you, people react to different strains and differently. Joe Hickey with a right-wing Brexit, that is exactly what will happen. We have a chance to get out now, away from the petrodollar before the next crash. We've just got to get out. Got to get out. But for God's sake, don't leave with the Tory government. if Tories in power, I won't want us to leave. I won't want us to do anything while the Tories are in power. Fortunately, they're not doing anything, because as soon as they do, they're out. Fluoride is a neurotoxin according to the World Health Organization, says Nicky. Yep, that is why I boil my water. Was it because of fluoride? It was something where you boil it and it takes it away. I read it anyway. Sativa days and indica nights, heaven on earth. Mystery, couldn't have said that better myself. I'm going to get down to the bottom now. What's that about, Katie? That's Schoolman 8942. I saw that breaking. I've been follow Glenn Greenwald on that subject. No, fuck, that is bad. Is it that you're talking about the Brazilian... here we are. Schoolman 8942. What's your thoughts on Brazil going fascist? Yeah, it is. With Bolsonaro predicted to win with 56% of the vote. It's scary. Not just for Brazil. It's scary for the whole of South America. We'll wait. I'll wait and give my thoughts on it until... I don't want to give my thoughts on it right now. I know a little bit about it, as Katie said, from reading Glenn Greenwald. But I haven't read his latest stuff over the last week because I've done other stuff, so I'm going to have to swat up on it. But it's not good, and it's not good not just for Brazil, but for the whole of South America. It really isn't. But this is what happens when you've got a neoliberals in power. This is what happens. The right goes far right every single time. I can't believe people still argue about that. No, it doesn't. It's like, just look throughout history. It happens every single time with neoliberalism. Better for you than sleep med, says Bomb in the Air. I'm assuming you're talking about an indica. The last time I had a sleeping pill, I nearly died. It was in a bad way after that. I had a severe allergic reaction to it, and I've never had one since. You can boil chlorine off, says the Mycroft. That must be what I'm thinking about. That must the chlorine I'm trying to get rid of. I remember reading it decades ago, and I've done it ever since. I haven't drank water out of a tap since, or not cold water anyway. I think water kills germs like E. coli. No, I'm pretty sure it was the chlorine that I did it for, but it kills the germs as well. Russians building up the gold, dump the US dollars, no more financial warfare, says Cheryl Brandon. This is why Russia are desperately sanctioning Venezuela, because they won't sell their oil on the petrodollar. That's what it comes down to. That is all it comes down to. You know, they say all, that's the main thing. That's why they're sanctioning the crap out of Venezuela. There's more of that coming on. There's 2 videos I've done this week. I think Wednesday the one's dropping. And I'm just getting to the end now. UK could be a socialist island of sanity, says the good dog. I really, really hope that's the case. I really do. The Wall Street Journal endorsed Bolsonaro, says Sinead. That just told you how crap the Wall Street Journal is. Fucking shit right-wing mag. Some of the most creative people smoke cannabis, says Nick Xcore. I would say probably every musician in history that's been in any good. So I agree with you. There was not a free election, neither will be America. That's sad, isn't it? No, Lawrence, it really is. Jimmy Dore pointed out the fact that when you vote for the lesser of two evils, eventually you get two right-wing parties. Yes, Sylvia, that meme he shows. I remember seeing that back in 2016. I remember people talking about that back in 2016, even before I'd heard of Jimmy Dore. You know, this is what happens. It just shifts the Overton window to the right. And also, the media then only concentrate on talking about things from either a centrist position or a moderate Republican position. That's their Overton window of what they talk about. Anything, you know, centre-left, they're far left-wing lunatics. They are. Because they've shifted themselves so much to the right, you know, so much to the right. Somebody slightly left-leaning who, you know, wants an end to the wars and healthcare for people, like Jimmy Dore, he's a left-wing radical. What? He wants people educated in healthcare? There's nothing radical about that. Keith Durant, Bolsonaro is a US-backed Atlas network construct for a military dictatorship in Brazil. There were companies exactly like Cambridge Analytica operating false news. Yeah, I got that from Glenn Greenwald's writing as well. I've got to read them all because he's written because he obviously he lives in Brazil. Glenn Greenwald does. He's got a dog sanctuary over in Brazil. This is how wonderful he is. He's got a dog sanctuary in Brazil that. The people who look after the dogs are former homeless people. If that isn't a progressive, I don't know what is. I'm just how do we start a green revolution, says Lawrence? I've got a video coming on what we can do, Lawrence, that I promised somebody last week. I've got a video coming. I'll cover it in that. I'll cover what I think we can do in that. I'll do some research. Sam Cedar and his crew, majority report, called Jimmy the Fringe, Alex Jones of the left. Well, I mean, Sam Cedar works for MSNBC. Sinead? Just getting down to the bottom now. Joe at Gordon Democrat, I almost forgot to tell you, Ukraine has death list Graham Phillips. Has death list Graham Phillips did this? Has death list Graham Phillips did this thing on it? Well, I know Graham Phillips has been doing a lot of work on Bellingcat. The research I did for Bellingcat, I got a lot from Graham Phillips. I know he does a lot of work about Ukraine and Russia. He's on a hit list, is he, or something? Is that how I'm reading that? Fucking far-right fascism. They're our friends. I will have a video next weekend, says Lawrence. Cool. ID Warp. Remember that the impeachment of Dilma originated with the US intelligence leaking information gotten from the spying of Brazilian companies like Petrobras. There is more than one ways for the CIA to skin a cat. Their coups don't have to be overt or covert. They could be done just with businesses, just to starting little things. Yeah, please do that, Keith. Please do that, mate. I want to have a look at that. I'm just getting down to the bottom now. And Wall Street Journal's fascist book wipe. I'm slightly left of Mark, says Covert White Rabbit. And we're there. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. I really enjoy these live streams and, you know, talking to you all. I don't get a chance to do it in the week, so I really enjoy them. I want to show you something before I go. My favourite drawing this is. My favourite ever cartoon of Julian Assange. I just, I love this. I absolutely love it. That guy. That's his stance with Britain and the UK at the moment. There's going to be loads and loads of videos. Like I say, I've got 8 uploaded already, ready to drop this week. So there's probably going to be over 20 videos this week. I hope you enjoy them. Thank you for all your support. I couldn't do this without you. I've had a massive amount of influx of people, you know, subscribing this week, and videos are going viral, and etc. And it's all down to you sharing my work, getting the word out there. And honestly, I love you all. Thanks very much for all of your support, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, everyone. Take care.